what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
This episode of the Caregiver Community is sponsored by Pace at Home. During this uncertain time, Pace at Home is enrolling participants who wish to continue to remain at home. Partnering with families, Pace at Home provides caring medical support for all of our program's participants. Visit us on our website or give us a call at 828-468-3980 to talk with a representative that can discuss with you the Pace at Home all-inclusive medical approach. Pace at Home is the champion for seniors wishing to remain in their community.
Welcome to the Caregiver Community. This is a place where we talk about the joys and the challenges of caring for our aging parents and loved ones, as well as caring for ourselves. I am Frances Hall, founder and executive director of ACAP, Adult Children of Aging Parents. In this podcast, we are talking about assistive technology, what it is, how it can help an older adult as well as you, the caregiver, and what is currently available. I am delighted to be joined by Samantha Westrich, a speech-language pathologist and communications consultant with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Samantha has experience working in the education, private practice, and skilled nursing settings with individuals of all ages. And she specializes in supporting individuals with augmentative and alternative communications. I'm sorry, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Augmentative and alternative communications and assistive technology. Samantha is passionate about supporting individuals, their families, and other professionals to learn more about how to promote autonomy in all areas of life through the use of alternative communications and assistive technologies. Samantha, hi, it is great to have you with us today. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and I am great.
Good. And as I remember, this has been several months in the making. We've had several tries at getting you on the program.
Yes, yeah. I think you guys reached out last year and then some scheduling stuff, and I had the pleasure at presenting at one of the ACAP meetings, one of the local chapters near me. So that's how we got connected originally.
Right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for being part of what we are doing. Yeah. So let's start sort of at the beginning. What is assistive technology? Help us understand the basics of this.
Yeah, so it's a rather broad term. It's really like an umbrella term, but it refers to any device, tool, or system that helps any individual perform tasks that they might not otherwise be able to do. And that can be secondary to age-related challenges or a disability. But it really is just tools that provide opportunity to all individuals to continue to do the things that they enjoy in a safe environment that they want to be in. So it can, I always say, AT can help someone from head to toe, wherever they go.
Head to toe wherever that works. Head to toe wherever they go. Yeah. And it also, as I understand, can be very, very low tech, like walker or cane, all the way up to very, very high technology.
Yep.
So we'll talk about some of that in just a moment. Talk about some of the common challenges that older adults face when it comes to daily living activities and how assistive technology from head to toe, wherever they go, how that can really be helpful to them, but also to the caregiver.
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. There is a range of assistive technology, and sometimes I think having that, technology title makes it sound like it's these very complex computer-based devices, but that is not true at all. So there is a range. I can jump into that now, or we can wait. And
Jump ahead.
okay,
Jump ahead
I'll
if you
jump
want
in.
to.
Okay,
Keep
so the range is really from, like you just said, Francis, light tech all the way up to what we call high tech. So there's sort of these three categories. But just because somebody uses light tech does not mean they're not going to also benefit from high tech, and vice versa. So depending on the task, the environment, the preference, we kind of use a total person approach when thinking through assistive technology needs. And like you said, light tech, simple, low cost, easy to use and maintain, most likely doesn't require electricity or a power source, not a very sophisticated mechanism. So thinking about magnifying glasses, like you said, canes, walkers, grab bars, calendars, with written things for memory support, and just visual reminders. So I always think of, like, you could grab it right off the shelf or print it off the computer, and know how to use it and use it effectively. And then we have sort of that mid tech, slightly more complex than light tech, most likely requires a power source, but still relatively straightforward in how it operates. Something that you could plug in or charge up, and after being shown once or twice how to use it, integrate it into your life pretty seamlessly. And these things are typically affordable. So looking at, $200 or less, and accessible things you can get off Amazon, Walmart even. So things like adaptive keyboards, adaptive mice, pill dispensers, even hearing aids kind of falls in that mid-tech range. Once you know how to use it, you're pretty good to go.
Go back. Assistive keyboard, an assistive mouse.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What's different about that versus just a regular keyboard or regular mouse?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, really, it can kind of encompass anything that you want to do to access the computer. So let's say you've got some vision challenges. There are keyboards that have bigger keys. Maybe they have some high contrast. We can add little texture stickers just to help you kind of feel, where things are. You can use on-screen keyboards. So if you prefer kind of using like a more touchscreen approach. And then for mice, I always like mouses, mice, you can have ergonomic features. So if you have carpal tunnel or, just some different mobility needs, you can grip your mouse in a different way. So really any way to adapt those things to make them more accessible to the person.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and I think I interrupted you.
Oh, yes.
You're at mid-tech.
Yeah. So the last one is high tech. And I just think this is where most people's brains jump when they think of assistive technology. These things are more advanced. We'd probably encourage you to work with a professional before purchasing or trying to implement. Then it's not really a one size fits all, because there are families that have very techy people, or have family members who are really in the know with technology. But it's always helpful to connect with a professional if you're thinking about purchasing something that might have a higher out-of-pocket cost. They're going to involve a little more complex technology. So you might need some training or assistance on how to kind of integrate this into your life, how to update it, make sure, if it's a software component or something like that, that you're just aware of the things you need to do to make sure that it's going to work for you at its best, in its best way. Typically more expensive. So that's another reason why we encourage you to try to connect with somebody who can let you try it maybe before you buy it, or kind of have a trial, maybe through the vendor, the person selling it. And again, they can kind of assist you with the setup. The perk is that they're likely more customizable. So if you have very specific needs or very specific things that you want out of a device, you can usually get into those devices and make it fit exactly what you need. So some examples, smart home technology is a big one, and all of the pieces that go into that. Kind of my niche area, which is communication devices. So if your parent has experienced a stroke or a traumatic brain injury of some sort, dementia, if they're having some communication difficulties, there are devices designed to support them with communicating. And so there's, a language learning piece and also a setup piece with those, a little more complex to put into their life. But that pretty much is the range. Again, just because you use one doesn't mean you wouldn't benefit from another.
Right. And you were talking about, or I think I heard you say something about possibly go to the provider, the,
Mm-hmm.
the whoever is selling the device,
Mm-hmm.
particularly the high tech, that maybe they would let you try it, and possibly even for low tech, even I'm thinking walker or
Mm-hmm.
wheelchair, those kinds of things. But am I correct in thinking that there are some organizations that can help provide the device or help with the payment for it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I think that is something we'll touch on a little deeper. But yes, there are all sorts of programs, ranging from state and federally funded programs to, sometimes like Boy Scout groups and things like that, that can help you either set these things up or get access if funding is a barrier. And I work for the North Carolina Assistive Technology Program. So we are a state program, and each program in the United States, I'm not sure about internationally, but I do think they're internationally based. There's some things that are similar to what we do in the US. But we have loaning libraries, and we do our best to stay really in the know. And we get grants and things like that to purchase equipment that we then can loan out. So connecting with a state program, a state assistive technology program, even universities, they may have access to assistive technology that individuals can loan to try and really incorporate in their life before seeking, a funding source or purchasing to really make sure it's worth the legwork to get that item and it works for them.
A lending library.
Mm-hmm.
We think about books. We
Yeah.
don't think about devices, but I
Mm-hmm.
have heard of that before. And I know my go-to always when somebody calls, particularly out of state and says, I need X or I need help with
Mm-hmm.
X. My go-to is always go to your AAA, go to your area agency on
Yes.
aging, just because they have so many resources at their
Mm-hmm.
fingertips, and then they can channel people to the most appropriate, whether it's a governmental agency or whatever. But Samantha, the group that you work with,
Mm-hmm.
health and human services, I guess, kind
Yes.
of falls under that umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I want to make sure people know that that is in every state, that every
Yes.
community in every state is covered. And
Mm-hmm.
so maybe at the end we can go into some avenues. How do you
Yeah.
actually connect with
Yes.
that? Because I
Yeah.
think that's always it's not just what is out there, but oh my heavens, how do you
How do I
find it?
find it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. And
how
the
do you
internet
find
is
it and
a
how do you get to
big
it?
place. So it's easy to get, lost when you're
Yes,
trying to find a specific thing. So, yes, more than happy to share links or our website. And there's also general websites if you're in a state outside of North Carolina.
great, great. We will do that. We'll do that. Okay, so as you're talking, hmm, I am remembering my mother-in-law, who I dearly loved, and she was in at this point she was late 80s into her 90s before she passed, and she used a walker, except that there were times that she would just say, oh no, I'm fine, I don't need my walker,
Mm-hmm.
and and how frustrating that was for her son and for her daughters, that
Mm-hmm.
they knew mom was pretty frail and just refused at times to use the device that she really needed. So, my question is this: are there some strategies, or is there some things that caregivers can do, families can do, to help their older adult loved ones actually use the technology?
Yes, that is one of the biggest things we want is we don't want that to, somebody get a Christmas present and then it just sit in the box, that kind of thing. So I think having those conversations as early as possible. I know from you telling that story reminds me so much of my grandmother because she is the same way, and just kind of, beats to her own drum, loves her independency, and that is just everything to her. And even my mom is, in her 60s, and it's just a conversation that we've started to have. And one thing that's been helpful is, integrating some of the technology into my own life and her kind of seeing a great example of this is smart home, because we all can kind of benefit from some of these things that the smart home technology does. But it's even more of a safety thing, for an aging individual. So showing my mom like, oh, it's so convenient at night. I set a routine on my smart home device so the lights come on, whether I'm home or not. And that way, when I get home, they're on and I can walk up and I'm not, tripping over things looking on how to turn on the lamp. So things like that, just trying to have those conversations early and not just kind of coming in hot and heavy with, here's what you need to do. I saw this. Let's put it into place. You need a smart device. You need this. You need that. Digestible bits is what I always say. And what is kind of a top priority. And I think that's always safety. So making sure that maybe there's some things that you can just kind of put into place. You don't want to do things without their permission, but just kind of show them like, let's just try it. And just kind of nudge them into integrating these things into their life. And maybe that's where light tech, very simple solutions that they can understand and incorporate right there on the spot. You sort of use those to step into bigger categories that can do a little more if they need that.
I love that you are already having these conversations with your mom.
Yeah.
Love that. Anybody who knows me knows I am not a highly tech person, a high tech person, whatever the term would be. I just if I get past Google, I have some real challenges.
Yeah.
But I don't know, a couple of years ago, I guess, I started to try to move into that smart home deal, and I was just like, okay, that's just not working for me.
Yeah.
But literally, just in the last couple of days, I did not realize, and maybe I should have, but I didn't realize there now are light bulbs that you simply take out your old light bulb and screw this one in, and from an app on your phone that you can turn it on and off.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. And I think part of it is just the advancement in technology that is like every week there is something new that is happening. But when you were talking about your mother and your grandmother, what I'm thinking is that so many families are dealing with a loved one who is at least showing signs of dementia. And of course, I think of the sundowners, and I know again from my mother-in-law that that we were told that what needs to happen is to turn lights on, kind of before dusk, go on and get the lights on, so there is a constant light in her apartment, and to turn all the lights on.
Right.
And then as she goes to bed, then she turns them out. And just thinking this would be so perfect. It doesn't even have to be a whole tech home.
Right.
It can be just a few light bulbs that can be switched on and off. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's becoming a lot easier to kind of integrate, and especially for, the younger generation, because it's almost like smart home or, iPhones and things, they were born with them in their hands. And so being able to kind of help their parents integrate those things, and they're just, like you said, very simple. It's changing a light bulb, it's plugging in a smart plug, and cost effective. So those items are available on Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart for $20 or less sometimes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, I think I bought 2 light bulbs because that's what I thought I needed
Yeah.
for the overhead light fixture. I really need 3, but I think they were, like, maybe $11 each,
Mhm.
and I know that sounds a whole lot more money than our,
Regular old.
59 cent,
Yeah.
light bulb or whatever, but the capability is really profound.
Mhm.
And again could be for either the older adult or if they are willing to be that or have that capability of being that tech savvy
Mhm.
or the caregiver
Yes. Yep.
of the family. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And cost, you mentioned cost. Yeah, there are a lot of people for whom, even an $11 light bulb would be too much. They would
Right.
not be able to do that. So
Mhm.
it's a combination of looking at what is needed, the low tech, mid tech, high tech, what
Mhm.
is needed, what are the resources for getting them, what is the cost, really
Mhm.
putting all of that together. And maybe that's one of the particular ways that families can help an older
Mhm.
adult is really to help bring all of that together.
Yeah, and help kind of prioritize and budget and really think through finding those funding resources, and helping that individual connect with programs to get access to those things.
Right, right, right. So, are there some specific things that should be considered when talking about assistive technology? And we haven't even talked at all about the communications, the augmentative and alternative communications.
Yes.
Maybe there's some things in there that we need to be talking about.
Yeah, so they're kind of I wouldn't say they're a niche area, but they're for definitely a person with a specific need, and that is a communication need. But
Right.
again, it's kind of common, really with anybody, but sometimes you see it in the aging population. Again, if they've had a stroke, and they're experiencing what we call aphasia, so that's when the language area of the brain has been damaged, and so now they're either having trouble understanding or getting their message out, or a little bit of both. Dementia is another one, ALS. So there are, and traumatic brain injury, so a slip and fall and you hit your head, there's and even some memory things. So these devices, we call them AAC, or communication devices, they are a way for that person to communicate. And there's a lot of different what we call language systems on there. So you would work with a speech language pathologist who would help you determine your specific language needs or your speech needs. And maybe it's something as simple as, everything is okay. You just really can't formulate those messages with the motor planning piece. And all you need is to be able to type on your phone and use speech output to communicate. So there's a lot of different variations of that. And again, going all the way to light tech, where it's just some pointing at pictures on a board. And that SLP, or speech language pathologist, will really help you determine exactly what the challenges are and what's needed, and how you can kind of use those tools as communication tools to support. Because that's a huge piece of being able to kind of make sure that you are understanding what that person wants, and you need to be able to communicate, and hopefully they can communicate effectively. So those devices really help with that, that need. And then I totally blanked on the other part of that question. I'm sorry.
Um, excuse me, it basically is, are there some things that should be considered when considering, when you, excuse me, when thinking about assistive technology? Are there some other things that ought to be considered beyond what we've already talked about?
Yeah. So it's definitely a person-centered assessment. So if you are working with the assistive technology professional and they're doing a full assessment, we always start with person first. So, what are your strengths? Where are you having challenges, what do you love to do that you want to make sure that you can do forever and ever because it brings you joy? What are there safety concerns? So we really just look at the person. So person first. And then what are you already using? Are there things that you've tried before that didn't work? Well, why didn't they work? And then moving to the tools. So we really try to look at the whole person and, again, head to toe wherever they go. So it's a rather long conversation, and it's typically over time. So thinking about those digestible bits and maybe prioritizing some things, because it can get, if you have somebody who has a little bit more needs for whatever reason, it can get a little overwhelming for everybody. So trying to kind of just take it step by step.
So Samantha, if I'm a family member, particularly an adult child, but not necessarily, I'm a family member, and my mother, my father, my husband, my wife, my aunt, uncle, whoever is having some real issues. and I'm sitting here thinking, I think there are some things out there that could help, but I don't know. And I don't even know the questions to ask. I don't know where to go. Who do people start with? What is the starting point for all of this?
So some people start with their primary care provider, and sometimes that doctor or physician is very aware of assistive technology. They might be working with, depending on their needs, again, like an occupational therapist or a physical therapist or even a speech therapist. And that's another professional that may be aware of some assistive technology programs or needs, just depending on the setting that they work in. And if they aren't really connected in that way, then there is that website that we were talking about earlier. It's AT3 Center, but that's the website for the state assistive technology programs. And it not only tells you where your state program is, but also has resources. So if you kind of have an itch that there may be a need, that's a good place to start. And then depending on how involved you are with like social media and things like that, there are assistive technology pages and things that you can, like on social media platforms, you could just type in assistive technology and kind of see and then that specific need. So assistive technology with aging. And there should be a slew of things that kind of come up to give you an idea of what's out there. But that AT3 website is a good connecting with your state program. Your state assistive technology program is a really great place to start, because you can just jump on a phone call and start kind of discussing the specific needs. And that person can either loan devices out or, again, point you to resources. So it's a great launching off pad for an assistive technology journey.
And again, that website is AT as assistive technology, AT3, the number 3.
Yes. I put it in here. Okay, here it is. Yes. AT3center.net is their website. So all one word. A as in Apple, T as in Tom, the number 3, center.net.
Gotcha. Good to know. Good to
Yeah.
know. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And then if just on that same resource, just thinking about another great resource, if smart home technology is something that you're interested in, but there's just a lot out there. There's another website that I really like to share with caregivers or people who are just kind of new to that. And it's smarthomemadesimple.org. So smarthomesmadesimple.org. And that one just kind of breaks down. You can click, what specific things you're looking for smart home technology to support you with, and it'll show you the different devices that are available. So you can, again, start to kind of get a general idea of what's out there and what these things do, and see if they kind of match up with what you're needing or your parent or loved one is needing.
Okay, so again, just to make very sure, those two websites
Yes.
are at3center.net
Hmm. Yes.
and
Hmm.
smarthomesmadesimple.org.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, that's really good to have some websites that people can go to and just kind of explore and look around
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
learn more. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is all really good information. It's very broad. It's very
Yes.
broad. I feel like we should come back and do one on speech and language, and another
Right.
on hearing, and another on vision, and
Yep.
you know, another on
Yes.
oral. All kinds of different
Yeah.
things.
All the categories.
Truly, truly. So, okay, so given everything that you have already talked about, is there other advice that you would give to older adults who are interested in exploring assistive technology options? And the proverbial, where do families go? Where do they look for assistive technology? And how can they know what would be the most helpful for their loved
Mhm.
one?
Yeah, so I think being able to have hands-on experience with it. So trying again, if there's something that you even going to like Best Buy, they have a lot of that stuff set up. So you can talk to somebody that works there and just see how those things work. And then if you again want to kind of use it in your own life, connecting with universities in your area, especially ones that have like engineering programs, things like that, or some of the programs for therapies like occupational therapy, speech therapy, and physical therapy. They may have an assistive technology lab, again, where you can go in. And I just think that hands on experience is invaluable. Or seeing if there is some sort of trial. We work very closely with a lot of different vendors because we're always trying to learn about what's out there. And most of them are happy to send you a demo device, is what they call them, or a demonstration device, or meet with you to really show you how these things work. So again, if you can get hands on with those devices, and I just can't. Before working at the assistive technology program, I was a treating speech language pathologist, and I just used the program so much and recommended families because they could come in and really get hands-on with these devices and connect with people who are very folded into the assistive technology community, and can really support them. And once you're connected, it's great because you can call or email at any time to ask questions, or if you do end up purchasing something and all of a sudden you're having issues, we're a great first step if you're just not sure what to do. So yeah, hands-on experience and just taking it kind of, again, just thinking one step at a time.
And as you're saying that, the notion is hitting me that this is a perfect illustration of, if at all possible, get ahead of the curve.
Yes.
In other words, don't wait until your loved one needs the
Mm-hmm.
assistive technology, the device, the whatever. Don't wait until that point to begin
Mm-hmm.
learning what is out there and what might be needed, or what kind of often or typically is needed,
Mm-hmm.
and find the resources. So I'm thinking, I had never thought of a university to go to one of their technology labs, but
Mm-hmm.
how wonderful an opportunity that would be for somebody, even if loved ones' parents are in their 50s or 60s, to
Mm-hmm.
go learn now what is out there, even though a lot is going to change in the
Right.
next 10, 20 years, before your loved one may need it.
Right.
But it may be, well, where do you've got a hip replacement, or a knee
Mm-hmm.
replacement. Well, probably they're going to need a walker for a while.
Yeah.
Where do you go to get that?
Right.
And what's out there, and just starting at the basics, but
Mm-hmm.
sort of, as you're suggesting, an introduction into the world of technology one of those levels, low, medium, or high?
Yeah. And even some hospitals, or like medical facilities, outpatient clinics. So kind of thinking like medical world, have access to assistive technology labs and things like that. Now they might not be able to allow you to take it home, but you could at least go and see,
Sure.
what's there, and just, I think, work to remove this stigma of, oh, technology is just too much. I have no interest in that, but really trying to go in with an open mind. I've talked to my mom about this just so many times. I'm like, just try to think, from an open, like a what if, and just be open to it, because you might actually, if you can just switch the lens in which you see it, they are very, very helpful for really everybody. So yeah.
What a great statement, though, to just switch the lens through which we look at any kind of assistance or assistance, and I'm going to put a period after any kind of assistance. So often we value our independence, and I think it's marvelous.
Yeah.
Particularly when we can be as independent and as spunky as possible for as many years, as long as we can. Absolutely wonderful. But even with that independence and that spunkiness, there may come a time that you need a little bit of help in order to remain independent and spunky. So
Yes,
now is the
exactly.
time. Now is the time to start learning what's out there.
Yeah, trying to be a few steps ahead, and change is hard. And so I understand, anything that feels different, and there's so much going into processing aging or a change in ability, especially when that's unexpected. So there's so much there that if you kind of at least have your feet in it, it's one less thing to adjust to. So that's also just something, because you just never know. You really don't. And so it's good to kind of at least know what's out there and what's available, because it can be life-changing for some individuals.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And like you just said, sometimes we have lots of time to prepare.
Yes.
Other times it is a heartbeat away.
Right.
I mean, literally, things can change in a heartbeat. And so to know where the resources are is tremendously helpful. So yeah, that's always my mantra. Get familiar with all of these things, with where resources are. Become familiar with that before you need it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but the reality is we have ACAP because I didn't know where the resources were, and I needed to know.
Right.
And so yeah, I'm big on knowing where resources are.
Yeah. Well, what a wonderful thing you've created, though, for other
thank you.
people to use. Yeah. It's such a great resource. It's really.
But truly, I created ACAP for me.
Yeah. To organize.
And it just happened that, lots of other people need ACAP too.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
I love that.
Samantha, thank you so much. This has been great information, great insight. And I'm really serious. I think we need to bring you back to talk about speech and language issues.
I would love to.
In addition to assistive technology that ranges from head to toe wherever you go.
Yes.
You have to remember that.
Yeah.
To you, our listeners, thank you for being with us. Thank you. I hope that this will be helpful to you and to your loved one, and possibly some others that would benefit from this. So please do share it with your family and your friends. We also certainly want to thank Pace at Home in Hickory, North Carolina. They are the sponsor for this podcast and all of our caregiver community podcasts. We are indeed grateful. This caregiver community podcast is part of the Mesh network of online shows and podcasts. We record one new ACAP podcast each month, and we address a very wide range of topics related to caregiving and advocating for older adults, particularly older adult loved ones. You will find our podcast on any platform where you listen to podcasts, as well as our website, www.acapcommunity.org. While you're on our site, we do hope that you will learn more about ACAP, our local chapters, our other podcasts, and our videos, videos from programs and other resources. If there are other topics that you would want us to consider having a podcast on, please do let us know. There is a way on the website that you can send us a note. So please do. Samantha, thank you again for being with us, and thank you to you, our listeners. Stay well, everyone. Bye for now.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.